You guys set all your stuff over there, and you're sitting right here. Aaron and Tyler and Brad get to sit over there, and just to make sure that they don't come over and interfere with y'all, Mr. Reed's gonna sit right here and make sure that they don't come over and interfere with the class, but I want y'all right here so that I can keep my eye on you and make sure that you're doing things right, doing things the way I want you to do them. And since Mr. Reed's gonna be there to keep them from coming over and bothering y'all, all of y'all are gonna have to pay him a fee. And y'all can use whatever you have on you for the rest of class, but they get to use anything that's over there at their disposal for class. Right? So not really. Y'all can go back to your normal seats now and get your stuff. But real quick, when you get back to your seats, everybody write just a quick summary of the little activity we just did and how it made you feel. Like how it would make you feel if we really went through that scenario for class. Just real quick, take a couple minutes to do that. And Tyler, Brad, and Aaron, y'all do one also.
From our perspective?
Yeah. Just make sure that you're describing your feelings about that situation if we really went through class that way. Whether you think it's fair or not, if you don't think it's fair, what you think is not fair about it, those types of things. Have about a minute if you need it. All right, is everybody ready? Then we're going to do a quick review of some things we've already went over in class and things that you guys should know. While we're doing the review, if you need to, you can look back through your notes and answer the questions. What two countries were involved in the French and Indian War? Raise your hand if you know the answer. Keep it up. All right, what's the answer?
France.
All right. All right. And what were France and Britain fighting for? What was the French and Indian War about?
They wanted control of North America.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you know the answer. Keep it up.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It's okay. Raise your hand if you know the answer. All right. What were they fighting for? Go ahead, everybody. What's the answer?
Primary control of North America.
That's correct. All right. Primary control of North America. Whose side was the Native Americans fighting for in the French and Indian War? Go ahead. What's the answer?
France.
France. All right. All right, whose side was the colonies fighting for? What's the answer?
Britain.
Britain. All right. So, you have the French and Indian War fought between France and Britain over primary control of North America. The Native Americans were fighting for France, and the colonies were fighting for Britain. So, do you think that these guys here are going to be friends?
No, sir.
No? Do you think that these guys right here are going to have good feelings towards Britain if they were fighting with France in the French and Indian War? No. Okay. Good job. So now we're going to watch a quick video. And while we're watching the video, I want you guys to really pay attention to the feelings that are discussed from all parties involved during the video, much like the feelings you had during the bell ringer. What's up with the audio? It's not working.
I mean, look at Article 6 of the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. Law is the expression of the general will. Every citizen has a right to participate personally or through his representative in its foundation.
The Proclamation of 1763, everything you need to know. In the years following the conclusion of the French and Indian War, relations between Great Britain and its American colonies began to sour. In a matter of only 12 years, a series of disagreements would ultimately lead to rebellion and revolution. What were some of these disagreements? One of the earliest problems was a royal decree issued by King George III, known as the Proclamation of 1763. This order stated that colonists couldn't settle lands west of the Appalachian Mountains. It would remain American Indian territory for the time being, the result of a backlash from a Native American uprising known as Pontiac's Rebellion. Once the Treaty of Paris was signed, colonists began eyeing western lands won from the French. Colonists were already encroaching upon the lands, and clashes between the colonists and natives were becoming both frequent and alarming. Many Native American leaders, foreseeing the impending flood of settlers into their territory, began calling for American Indians to unite in defense of their lands. History has called the ensuing uprising Pontiac's Rebellion, named in honor of one of the Ottawa chiefs who led the movement. Over a span of 1,000 miles, Native American attacks on the frontier were both violent and furious. They attacked forts, destroying or capturing 7 of them, as well as cabins and hunters. British General Jeffrey Amherst and soldiers were sent to meet the threat at Forts Pitt and Detroit. He and 500 men were ambushed by an unknown number of Shawnee and allied tribes at a place called Bushy Run. Over 300 Shawnee were killed or wounded, while the other attackers scattered. The event gained London's attention, and the result was the Proclamation of 1763. Britain sent more troops to North America and began constructing additional forts. This came at a cost of £320,000 a year. The British Parliament felt that since the resources were going to the defense of the colonies, the American colonists should pay for it. But Americans viewed the scenario differently. Nearly every American male colonist owned a gun, and from the age of 16 to 60, most served in the militia. In all, the colonists outnumbered the natives living on the frontier 20 to 1. Colonists didn't feel that the troops were needed. Prior to the French and Indian War, Britain had kept no standing army in the American colonies. Now that the war had been won, and the French had abandoned North America, more troops were being shipped in. Colonists also had all of the new land acquired from going as far as sending troops to forcibly remove the settlers from the forbidden lands. Colonial agitation grew. Then Parliament issued the Quartering Act of 1765. The Quartering Act stated that the colonists had to provide housing, either in barracks, public houses, inns, alehouses, or livery stables, as well as food and supplies for the British troops. Colonists had no say in the matter. Thomas Gage, the officer in charge of the troops in North America, determined to station most of the soldiers in New York so that they could quickly be deployed to hot spots whenever needed. Initially, New York refused to accommodate the troops, but agreed to take them in after Parliament suspended the royal governor as well as the New York Assembly.
Alright. So, now that you've watched the video, and you kind of see what, the feelings were that the colonists had, towards everything that was going on with the proclamation of 1763, it was basically telling them, hey, we just won this land that all of you have been fighting for us for, from France, but you can't settle it. You can't go settle it. And we're even gonna put troops in here to make sure that you don't go settle it. So I want you guys to reflect back on the summaries that you wrote after the bell ringer and kind of real quick write down some notes about comparing your feelings to the feelings that you got from the video. Now, do y'all think that are there some similarities there from the feelings that you saw them, what they discussed in the video to the feelings that you had after the bell ringer? And what are some of those feelings? What's something that you saw similar, Riley?
Well, it's like, the colonists were kinda like, we didn't ask for, the British to protect us, and we didn't ask to have to pay them and everything, so we're kinda the same way. We had limited resources over here and everything, we didn't ask to Reed to protect us from these guys coming over. We had our own guns, you know?
Exactly,
So-
exactly. What's something you ladies got similar or different, if you got something different? Anybody, did y'all get anything different than what Riley got?
I basically said the same thing, that I didn't think it was fair for them to use my school stuff that was over there, just like, I'm sure that.
Which is kind of the same situation of what I just said. You don't think that it's fair that you fought on the side of Britain in this war to win all this land and all these resources over here, okay? But now someone else gets to use them, someone that fought against you in that same war, right? So you don't think it's fair for something that you fought and bled and died for someone else that fought against you to get to use it, right? So that's kind of where we're going with this lesson. And that's my introductory.
All right, very good.